Hi, I'm Rick Steves. Thanks for joining me on this walk through the historic core of Amsterdam. Amsterdam City Walk. Amsterdam today looks much as it did in its golden age, the 1600s. It's a retired sea captain of a city, still in love with life, with a broad outlook and a salty story to tell. Today's Amsterdam is a progressive place of 700,000 people and almost as many bikes. Here, where today's train travelers enter the city, sailors of yore disembarked from seagoing ships. They were met by street musicians, pickpockets, hotel runners, and ladies carrying red lanterns. Central Station, built in the late 1800s, sits on reclaimed land that was once the mouth of the harbor. The station, with warm red brick and prickly spires, is neo-Gothic from the late 1800s, built during Amsterdam's economic revival. One of the towers has a clock dial. The other tower's dial is a weather vane. You'll also pass places selling the popular local fast food, French fries. Here they're called Vlaamse frites, or Flemish fries, since they were invented here in the Low Countries. The stand at Damrak number 41 is a favorite. Locals dip their fries in mayonnaise, not ketchup. This impressive structure, the Stock Exchange, or Beurs, was erected in 1903, made of 9 million bricks. Like so many buildings in this once marshy city, it was constructed on a foundation of pilings, some 5,000 tree trunks hammered vertically into the soil. These had to be driven 30 feet deep into the soggy soil, first through a layer of unstable mud, and then into a layer of more stable sand. Even today, buildings lean this way and that as the land settles. Standing tall on Dam Square is a white obelisk, the national monument. It was built in 1956 as a World War II memorial. The obelisk, with its carvings of the crucified Christ, men in chains, and howling dogs, remembers the suffering of that grim time. This is the historic heart of Amsterdam. The city got its start right here in about the year 1250. That's when fishermen in this marshy delta settled along the built-up banks of the Amstel River. They built a dam blocking the Amstel River, creating a small village called Amsterdam. First, the Royal Palace. That's the large domed building on the west side. Despite its name, it's really the former town hall, and Amsterdam is one of the cradles of modern democracy. In medieval times, this was where the city council and mayor met. Amsterdam was a self-governing community that prided itself on its independence and thumbed its nose at royalty. In about 1650, when Amsterdam was one of the richest cities on the planet, the old medieval town hall was replaced with this one. The building became known as the Royal Palace in 1806, when Napoleon invaded and installed his brother, Louis, as king. Today, the palace remains one of the 4 official residences of Queen Beatrix. Amsterdam's Royal Palace is open to visitors. Inside, you can see a grand hall and about 20 lavishly decorated rooms. The chandeliers, paintings, statues, and furniture all reflect Amsterdam's former status as the center of global trade. Though called the New Church, it's actually 600 years old, a mere 100 years newer than the Old Church, which is in the red light district. The sundial above the entrance once served as the city's official timepiece. This church is where many of the Netherlands monarchs are married and where all are crowned.
You'll find the entrance to Kalverstraat near the Rabobank sign.
Rabobank?
Don't get any funny ideas.
Start walking down this pedestrian-only shopping street. This has been a traditional shopping street for centuries. But today, it's notorious among locals as a noisy shopping ghetto with chain stores and no soul.
This is the Petrus in Paulus Kerk, better known as the Papegaai Hidden Catholic Church. Step inside.
This Catholic church is an oasis of peace tucked amid 21st century crass commercialism. It's called a hidden church, though I guess it's not since you found it. But it still keeps a low profile. That's because it dates from an era when Catholics in Amsterdam were forced to worship in private. You see, in the 1500s, Protestants were fighting Catholics all over Europe. Pragmatic Amsterdam tried to stay neutral, doing business with all parties. But in 1578, Protestant extremists took control of the city. They expelled Catholic leaders and bishops and outlawed the religion. Catholic churches were stripped of their lavish decoration and converted into Dutch Reformed churches. Simultaneously, Amsterdam was rising up politically against their Spanish overlords, who were Catholic, and eventually threw them out. For the next 2 centuries, Amsterdam's Catholics were driven underground. Catholicism was technically illegal, but it was tolerated.
Kind of like marijuana these days.
Yeah, Catholics could worship as long as they didn't inhale. Actually, Catholics could worship so long as it was practiced in humble, unadvertised places, like this church. By the way, this church gets its nickname, de Papegaai, from a parrot that was carved over the entrance of the house that formerly stood on this site. Now, a stuffed parrot hangs in the nave to remember that original Papegaai. Today, the church asks visitors for a mere 15 minutes for God. You'll see the sign, Een kwartier voor God. The church stands as a metaphor for how religion has long been a marginal part of highly commercial and secular Amsterdam.